I'm an Air Force airman. I am a bow hunter. I am a fisherman. I am Mark of all trades. My dad began taking me hunting at the age of 6. By the time I was 12, I was hunting on my own, and as most kids who hunted back in the 90s did, I had a compound bow, and it was maxed out at 50 pounds. Eventually, I grew out of that and upgraded. Fast forward to today, I hunt with a Mathews VXR, and, depending on the circumstances, I may use a Horton Storm RDX crossbow. Which brings me to the subject of today's video. There seems to be somewhat of a divide within the hunting community when it comes to shooting crossbows. Some questions that keep arising are whether crossbows should be limited to the disabled only, if a limited amount of time should just be set for crossbow hunting, whether legalizing crossbow hunting across the board makes the playing field of other hunters unlevel, and does it take the sport out of hunting? They have even questioned whether it's ethical. I think these are valid questions, and I want to weigh in on all of these with my opinion as well. Being from Michigan, for the longest time crossbows were only allowed for the use during gun season, or if you were disabled. Within the last few years, Michigan has allowed crossbow use for everyone, and that includes during the archery season as well. Because I hunt with a crossbow in addition to my compound bow, I can see the benefits of both sides. I'm not disabled, and I do well hunting without a crossbow. But since it is an option now, sometimes I use it, unapologetically. It seems that this is where some people, including fellow hunters, have the issue. I won't go into a lot of detail about whether the use of crossbow is unethical, but I will make these 2 points. The first one being, if using a crossbow to hunt is unethical, then why do we allow the disabled to do something that is unethical? The second point, if the issue of ethics is about the level of force used to kill a deer, then consider the force of a rifle or a shotgun, which is very popular in the world of hunting. Also, the skill and accuracy of a hunter, whatever the weapon is what determines the quick kill versus the suffering. When it comes to the point that crossbows make it too easy to hunt, I say if hunting were easy, everyone would do it. The deer don't exactly show up just because you have a crossbow. You still have a lot of scouting to understand the deer activity and planning to get to the best times at the best places to encounter them. And even if you've done your best, you still can't control the factors that can easily ruin a hunt, like nearby hunters walking through, weather temperatures, the shifting winds. There's also a claim that being able to pass your crossbow over to the next person without them sighting it in is an unfair advantage that takes away from the sport of hunting. Well, guess what? The same can be said for the passing of a rifle with a scope. No sighting needed in there either. Also, if you consider the fact that not everyone shoots from the same distance, the same skill level, operates at the same strength of vision, level of accuracy, or any number of other factors, the playing field is never 100% level. My dad and I both went on an Illinois hunt, and we were successful. And we had a plan going in, and we were going to hunt out of the same tree. And I was able to take his crossbow and shoot an Illinois buck. And we were from the same tree, and that made that hunt that much better. I have the same crossbow that I have right here, and I felt confident in my ability to make the shot. The only other caveat to that is I have shot his crossbow before. It wasn't multiple times. I think I've probably put a total of 3 bolts through that crossbow. But nonetheless, that's just my personal preference. I don't want to shoot somebody else's crossbow without having shot it before. Maybe I shoot a little bit high and to the left. It's not always going to be dead accurate whenever someone picks up your crossbow, but you'll be somewhere within this range, ideally. A lot of division comes from the thinking of a perspective of scarcity. As if all of a sudden all the hunters will go out and go get crossbows. They'll suddenly all of a sudden become 100% accurate and never miss. They'll max out all of their tags, and the next thing you know, all the deer will be gone. First, there's a limit on the number of deer that can be harvested. The number of deer that can be taken with a bow or rifle or crossbow is already accounted for. Secondly, if for sake of argument, the deer were to be taken, it's most likely that the DNR would just do what they've been doing. Either restrict the harvest to a lower number the next season, or limit the ban or the use of crossbows. The last issue, the use of crossbows being unsportsmanlike, seems to be about ego. Trying to control the way that another person hunts when they're behaving ethically and within the law, in my opinion, what's unsportsmanlike about that? Especially if it's merely because you feel like they're going to tag that huge buck before you get the chance to. If you feel that strongly against the use of crossbows, work to change the law, but don't judge or belittle fellow hunters. There are as many reasons for hunting as there are hunters, and if they're all abiding by the same rules you are, there's no room to criticize them. You both have the option to use a crossbow. If you decide not to, no one's pressuring you or harassing you to do otherwise. Make sure you give that same respect in return. Finally, us as hunters, we need to realize that we're all ultimately doing the same thing. We're just going about it differently. Use the legal process to change what you don't agree with. In the meantime, can we disagree without being disagreeable? I hope you guys enjoyed my perspective on what I think about crossbows. If you guys have a different opinion or think differently about it, let me know in the comments. So we're going to move forward to this week's small wins. And I'm really excited to share this story because I think it has a bunch of small wins within it. This week's small win is coming from Willie. He said that he was adopted at the age of 4 and he was in and out of group homes, foster care, and juvenile detention until the age of 18. He met a beautiful woman named Heather about 6 years ago, and they have a son together. They saved up enough money and bought their first home in August. And he states that this is a big win. I never thought that I would be a homeowner. He said it's also a big win for Heather. She is a first-time homeowner in her family. One of the first things that they did was cut down a tree. They killed the grass in the backyard, and they planted clover. He said that this year he's planting persimmons and apple trees. He passed on a nice buck earlier in the season and the neighbors got him. This year he ended up harvesting a doe on Christmas evening. And on top of that, it was on his property and it was feeding off of his clover plot that he planted. He's hoping in the future that his son will be able to harvest his first deer out of their backyard. And he goes on to say this, "So my small win started with me choosing to live my life right, setting goals, working hard towards them, and not stopping. Just have to aim higher and shoot straight." Thanks for sharing your story, Willie. There's so many small wins in this and you've accomplished so much, and I appreciate you sharing your story with us. If you want to be featured on Mark of All Trades, make sure that you send me your small wins.